I've done over 200 races on Zwift, but only a couple on Rouvy. So is Rouvy racing actually worth trying? Today I'm comparing both platforms from a Zwift racer's perspective to help you decide if it's worth branching out. In this video we'll look at 4 key areas. The availability of races in Rouvy. How many are there, how often do they run, and does that fit in with your timescale, or indeed my timescale? We'll also have a look at the number of riders that the races attract. There's no fun racing against yourself and on your own, you may as well just do a workout instead. We'll have a look to see how competitive the races that I've done at least have been. And then finally we'll compare the user interfaces, because as you know, Rouvy is quite different to Zwift. I'll then take you through my experience in my first Rouvy race, and finally we'll answer the question, should you try racing on Rouvy? Let's start with Rouvy and have a look at the availability of racing. Both platforms have companion apps that work in similar ways. I actually find it easier to search for events on Rouvy's website, so let's have a quick look at that. Once on the website, you can click on this search events button and it brings up the filters on the left hand side. You can then select race, and then basically you've got all the races that are due to come up. And you can see that there's quite a number of them. In fact, some of them are well attended, as I'm pointing out on the screen now. So in a similar way to Zwift, there's races that are better attended than others, and you can highlight those and find them. And in particular you can see here that there's these RMC races whereabouts you've got 20-30 competitors in one go. So it looks like on Rouvy there's a lot of racing going on, and actually there's quite a lot of people attending it. For Zwift, I've used the companion app. The website is less useful, I found, and the companion app is much easier to search for races. On the home screen in the companion app, you basically find events, click into that, and then there's a whole list of events which you can filter. So I'm going to filter down to just race events, apply those filters, and now we can see the race events that are coming up for today, and then as we scroll further down the list we'll go into tomorrow and the next day and so on and so forth. And similar to Rouvy, you can see the number of riders that are going to be participating, and there's certain races that attract more riders than others. So you're in a position whereabouts you can look at them, decide how many people have already signed up, and of course then join the ones which you feel like are the right route for you and the right number of riders, and give yourself a competitive race. If you go into it in more depth, there are more races that are more well attended in Zwift, but that shouldn't detract from you trying Rouvy, because there's plenty of races with plenty of riders in Rouvy as well. So if you're looking to have a race, either platform will serve those needs. I'm going to split user interface into 2 parts. Essentially how you would set up the user interface for when you're riding, and then what that interface looks like when you are actually riding in the race. So let's have a quick look at how you can configure Rouvy's interface so that it gives you the statistics that you want to see, and the layout is how you would like to see it. So you go into this customize ride interface, and you can see that each section has this edit button or a hide button. If you click on the edit one, you then have a couple of options. So here we can see that you can change the units from watts per kilogram to an FTP percentage. And once you're happy with the one that you want, you click done. It's all very intuitive at the top, and this is an advantage for Rouvy. It does have drafting as a built-in feature of the platform, and you can see that drafting savings in watts or percentage. Down in the bottom left hand corner is all of the stats that you want to see, and as you can see there's a plethora of stats there that you can choose from and configure it how you would like to. So we'll pick average speed, we'll pick another indicator, and we'll add in burned calories, and let's add one more and we'll add in normalized power. And once you've got it all how you like it, this is how your screen would look for the duration of the race. Let's have a look at Zwift. They approach it slightly differently. In the settings, you go to HUD, heads up display, and you can see that there's a few areas here that you can change to make it look how you would like to. You can also do this once you're already in the pen, let's say, or in the game. Again, you go to settings, you click on the heads-up display, and you can see that each one of these slots you can configure to what you'd like, be it cadence, average power, heart rate, so on and so forth. So you can change all of those in that particular bit. There's then another area called ride stats that allows you to pick a couple of other metrics that you might want to follow that will pop up at certain points in the game. And then in the main preferences section, you've actually got quite a number of different options that you can choose from here, such as video screenshots, highlighting certain riders, holo replays, which is whereabouts you can see previous efforts that you've done and you can race against a previous effort that you've done. And then once you're ready to go, you've got your screen set up how you'd like it and you are ready to race. So from how you would like the screen to present the statistics to you, they go about it in two quite different ways, but the net result is kind of the same. I think there's more variety in Rouvy in terms of the options that you can choose for statistical information, such as normalized power and what have you. And of course, they've got that drafting feature, which is very useful. And you can install a plugin called Source for Zwift. There's a video on my channel explaining how to do that, but you do have to go outside of the Zwift ecosystem, and there is a charge for that. It's only about $2 a month, but even so, for you to get the drafting gauge within Zwift. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's one of the things that they'll implement. But I feel like that does give Rouvy a slight advantage in that area at least. The rest of it, I feel like, is user preference. Which do you prefer the look of? But in terms of configuring the interface to how you want it, they're both pretty flexible. The second part of user interface is about the look and feel of the game when you're riding. So let's have a look at that. Well, with just 5 seconds to go, you can see that I can identify my rider because he's literally just got on his bike as the race has begun to start. So it's a little bit different to Zwift, for those of you who are familiar, because normally my rider would be right in front of me, but in Rouvy, he's off to the right-hand side. So I had a little play around with the camera angle at this point, and you can see that I've neared into myself, and actually I now can't see my own rider because he's just behind me. And then as I continue to play around with the camera and change the positioning of the camera so that it's actually behind where I am, you can see that I end up on the right hand side. So in many respects, it's the positioning that is a little bit different, but once you get used to it, of course you get used to it. And as you can see as we go through the race, that your positioning moves around a bit as you are the rider. So Zwift is a bit different, and we'll look at that in a second, but on Rouvy, the position of your cyclist kind of moves around depending on whereabouts the group is, but predominantly it's slightly off to the right hand side. The rest of the user interface, as you can see, is all very clear. You can see the riders around you in the top left-hand corner. You can see the watts per kilogram that they're pulling. Down on the left-hand side, it's got virtual shifting, which is built into the ecosystem. So I'm riding my Zwift ride, and the virtual shifting works absolutely perfectly. The only caveat that I would say about the virtual shifting, and other people have also commented about it in the videos that I've put out previously, is that it does seem to run out of gears as you start to go downhill. You really do have to increase your cadence to keep any power going through. But that's an issue that crops up from time to time during a race. It's certainly not detrimental to the overall quality of how it feels, and if you don't have virtual shifting, then it won't affect you at all. The biggest difference, of course, is that Rouvy uses live video footage for you to race around, and you can see that they've done some quite impressive filming here. This one's in Canada. You can see the draft gauge just coming into effect at the top of the screen there, but it does look lovely. Okay, so that's Rouvy. It all looks very nice, it's all very functional, works very well indeed. Let's have a quick look at Zwift. With the race just getting underway, you can see that the look and feel of Zwift is very different to Rouvy. It's a computer-generated environment, and the avatars, of course, are computer-generated as well, as they are in Rouvy. And you can see that the graphics, though, I think are excellent. I think they're really well done. They've got good shadowing on them. They create a feeling of realism. Not as real as Rouvy, with that being real life footage, but I do really like it, and I've enjoyed using it for many months now. You can see in the top left-hand corner, you've got the similar information to Rouvy that was in the bottom left-hand corner on the Rouvy environment, which is your statistics, your power, your heart rate, you know, however you've configured it. In the middle at the top, you've got race information, how much further you've got left to go, how far you've gone, the amount of elevation that you've done. And then on the right hand side, you've got this mini map, which gives you a map of where you are on the course, which you can zoom in and out of. And it also gives you the route profile in terms of elevation. And then on the right hand side, you've got all of the other rider information in much the same way as you have in Rouvy. From a user interface point of view, they've both got the same level of statistical information that you would need. As I mentioned before, if you want drafting in Zwift, you need to get source for Zwift to put that in. I can't imagine that it's not something that they won't implement at some point, but it's not here at the time of making this video. But the look and feel is very different to Rouvy. You can see that my rider stays pretty much central the whole time. He does move from left to right a little bit here and there, but he's pretty much directly in my eyesight, whereas with Rouvy, my rider was off to the right for pretty much most of the time. It's not a right or a wrong way of doing it, it's just different, and when you are riding, you get used to it very quickly, but it is a difference between the two platforms. So let's quickly review what we've just seen. In terms of race availability, there is more race availability in Zwift, but there's plenty of race availability in Rouvy. So I don't think in either platform that's a deal breaker. And then when you look at the number of riders attending the races, it varies by race in both platforms, but there are definitely races available that you can join on both platforms where you'll have plenty of competition. Talking of competition, I would say that it's broadly an equivalent level. Since filming some of this video, I've done a couple more races in Rouvy and I've got nowhere near winning. So, you know, I'm not the worst rider in the world and I'm certainly not the best rider in the world. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. And in that case, it gives me people to ride and compete against. And in many respects, the racing experience is relatively similar. You've got lots of riders of different qualities and there's pretty much always somebody to race against. So, very positive from that point of view on both platforms. The really big difference comes in the user interface, and I think that that is down to personal preference. A lot of people talk about Zwift as being gamified or cartoony. I don't actually think that that word applies to Zwift. I think it's much better than a cartoon. But I understand the point that they're trying to make in as much it is, you know, CGI, it's computer generated, and it's not the real world look and feel of Rouvy. Equally, for Rouvy, there's some people that talk about the fact that the picture quality is not 4K, it's only HD and it could be better, which is one of the things in their recent press release that they talked about increasing the resolution to 4K. But in the end, I think it really does come down to which one you prefer the look of. Both platforms deliver exactly what they say they're going to do. And from a racing point of view, that's enough races with enough riders that you can compete and you can enjoy doing it. And from that perspective, I'm personally going to continue to use both. I like both experiences for different reasons. I like the fact that I can change between the two, but not everybody wants to pay for 2 subscriptions, and clearly I'm doing that because I have a YouTube indoor cycling channel, and you may not want to do that. But if you want to give Rouvy a go, then there is a link in the description below whereabouts you can get a 5-week free trial of Rouvy, and that will give you plenty of time to decide whether you like it or not. On the Zwift perspective, I actually can't find very much to fault about Zwift. For me, both platforms encourage you to cycle more, which means that you're going to get fit, which means that you can keep an eye on your weight, and your mental health improves because you're exercising. And from that point of view, I think they're both brilliant. I think they're both brilliant inventions, they're done very differently, and the fact that there's a nice choice available for riders to decide which one they prefer, I think that can only be a positive as we go forwards. Both platforms are consistently releasing updates in terms of routes and functionality, and the fact that the two platforms are clearly competing against each other, I think keeps both of them on their game. And that's a really positive thing for all of us the users. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer and why, and I look forward to reading those comments. I will reply to all of them, of course. And if you're interested in watching some racing, here's a playlist with some of the ones that I've done over the past year or so.